The cameras did not cut as intended. Instead, they stayed in position. The audience gasped shortly after Chrissy announced her covert wedding on TV. Social media took off. Jim Jones did nothing but sit still. No one knew what he was thinking. It was impossible to tell if he was confused, hurt, or about to pass out. A hidden camera that was still rolling behind the curtain recorded what happened next. Uncut and uncensored sobs, accusations, shouting, and the truth. However, what happened backstage after the credits rolled was not meant for public viewing because Jim Jones formed a large group while producers hurried to calm things. Down directly to Chrissy's changing area. They had no plans to come out. This was more than just reality TV. The internet watched everything in its pure, messy condition during the decades-long collaboration that created and broke in real time. The strategy of social media feuds included frequent reunions, shouting, yelling, a few walk-offs, and a sprinkling. What transpired in the final 5 minutes of the Real Love, Real Lives episode in Harlem, however, was not what was expected. Chrissy didn't just show up glammed up and with attitude. She brought a mystery with her. Furthermore, when she disclosed to the set that she was married, you could sense the mood shift. I did the required activity in privacy after being exhausted from the studio. For the first time in my life, I didn't wait. I didn't ask. I decide for myself, in addition to the audience gasping, I have a husband. The source is not the host. Throughout the whole program, people were still getting over little conflicts, with the exception of the actors. The biggest gasp was caused by Jim Jones's silence. He stayed still and didn't blink or flinch. Diamond chains kept catching the stage with dazzling lights. But while the reunion hosts desperately attempted to recover control and roll the credits, that silence was more potent than any tactic he could have employed. In the last moments of the show, Jim stays still. The producers provided the wrap-up cue. Bravo, viewers, the lights were turned off. The group began to migrate toward the rear corridor in preparation for their departure interviews. But Jim Jones is still seated. Of the boom operators later said that it seemed like a bus composed of everything he could have avoided had struck him. Instead of reacting with anger, he was shocked. That deep quiet when your heart is struggling to find a solution, as if it were trying to keep itself together. He sat with his hands resting on the arms of the velvet reunion chair. "Wow, for real!" was all he could hear above the hubbub of the crew, and his microphone was still hot. Then, carefully and methodically, he rose and moved from the hut to the green room, not even to the changing areas. He proceeded directly backstage to Chrissy's own trailer, which she had reserved since their arrival. Everything essentially went off script when the primary camera feeds, which was concealed behind the main cameras, went blank. Thankfully, Reggie, freelance backstage shooter hired to collect behind-the-scenes video for social media marketing, continued to use his camera since the footage he recorded was purely conflation. Reggie kept rolling without realizing what he was getting into. You opened Chrissy's dressing room door. Chrissy spun around without warning or knocking. The heel is still off to start. In mid-touch, she let her tiny mirror fall to the floor as her jaw tensed. "You knew we were done, Jim. You knew that?" "Sure. But I'm already married. I married a man who never even texted me. You didn't think I deserved at least that. Would you like to speak now? You left me for 6 months after you skipped couples counseling and didn't show up for my mother's funeral." Boom. At that moment, it became real. You could hear the breaths of every single person in that corridor halt. The production assistant with the clipboard froze. Even as one of the background stylists tried to covertly close the door, Reggie backed up just enough to maintain the audio clarity. Every part of the camera is rolling. Nobody knew that Chrissy had left her dressing room microphone running. Although the audio was crystal clear, it was an accident rather than a procedure violation. 2 hours following the breach. On Twitter, the video received shares. TWWW with Z posted a video along with the caption, "Chrissy gave this man 20 years. Yet he spoke nothing about her. He compelled her to choose for herself. The video has since gone viral. The supporters were divided. Because Chrissy's voice broke with agony, despite all of that stress, the majority backed her. Others stood with Jim because they were off guard, wounded and misinformed. You were conscious that I was, and you knew it. I waited on you for years. You assured me of a wedding, a family, and a life. However, I only ever got promises. I'm loyal to you. Jim struck back. I'm in limbo because of you. Twitter goes down in a few minutes. All across the country, Jim Jones and Chrissy reached #1 and #2 on the charts, respectively. The Shade Room posted the footage. Hollywood Unlocked discussed the altercation, live, adding to the chaos. Mama Jones posted a picture of herself and Chrissy from 2012, along with the caption, "And just like that, poof, gone." The comments were scathing. Jim was 20 years old and had no friends. Love was time. When asked whether anyone did, Chrissy said, "I do. That guy offered us dips at classics but was unable to propose to Chrissy." Fans began deleting old interviews, receipts, love, and hip-hop shows in the meantime. Chrissy knelt down. They repeated every moment she spent online. She quit waiting after a long period of waiting. Jim now retreats to his caravan. According to a production worker, Jim left Chrissy's room without saying anything further. He made no attempt to yell, slam anything, or attack anyone. He just walked quietly to his trailer, sat down, and closed the door. He remained silent. A makeup artist who gave him a towel claimed that he just stared at the floor. He eventually laid his chains on the vanity counter with care. After taking them off one by one, it was the first time anyone had ever seen Jim without them since the movie started. 10:48 p.m. He finally broke the stillness by texting his first day. "Pal freaky zicky," she succeeded. She was playing a bluff. I believed that Chrissy's phone was always buzzing. Meanwhile, Chrissy received a deluge of texts and direct messages on her phone from cast members, bloggers, and friends she hadn't spoken to in years. But one statement stood out in a special manner. Her new spouse, whose identity the world is still unaware of, was sending her a proud of you message. Let them talk. Chrissy didn't intend to make headlines when she walked into the reunion tape. Her wedding ring was hidden behind a fresh manicure, and her heart was guarded. She had 20 years of history, so she was ready. She did not wish to harm Jim's reputation. She didn't want to exact revenge. But the only thing she wanted was tranquility. To get it, she had to do something that she had been afraid to do for over a decade. Give up the idea of Jim Jones. Something changed with the ring. No helicopters, a beach, a handwritten note, spectacular proposal, rose petals, or rap lyrics stitched into a diamond were present. And a man who preferred creating with Chrissy over fixing her. That man's name is Bellamy Marcus. Yes, the renowned architect who specialized in building homes for hip-hop's elites. They first connected at an interior design event in late 2022. Chrissy was there to assist a friend. No one has been fired as a result of the production leak. The creators of Real Love, Real Lives seem to have known about Chrissy's marriage prior. Two Jims. Indeed. Weeks before the shoot, Chrissy reportedly asked for a period of time to amend her contract. She did not want Jim's remark to be recorded during the reunion because she wanted to speak candidly and unhindered about her relationship status. She only wanted to get her story back, but the producers saw a chance to make it go viral. Without informing Jim or the cast, they rescheduled her announcement for the final 5 minutes of the run-up performance. Not even the host received a briefing. They wanted the event to seem sincere. They were provided with 4,000 dots that represented pure suffering. When Chrissy realized how they had set Jim up, she was, in fact, furious. She had cautioned them against exploiting his reaction. But once the footage was recorded, it belonged to the network. She also understood that once the tape was exposed, there was no turning back. Jim talks to Jim's best lad, who asked to stay in the inner circle. During the reunion, Jim Jones was really getting ready to ask Chrissy to marry him again. An anonymous conversation with an urban podcast said that Jim had already selected a ring. He had hidden the ring in his bag, planning to remove it after talking to Mama Jones, who was pleasantly supportive this time. The plan, one last try, and one last shot were discussed at their most recent meeting. But here's the twist. Before he could say anything, Chrissy dropped her own bomb, so he was never given the chance. "I'm married already." The supporters were divided. Some people believe Chrissy should have warned him. According to others, she has been warning him for the last 20 years. She experienced the tranquility she had never known the day following the reconnection. Chrissy turned off her phone and got on an upstate train. There is no glamour or entourage, just her and Marcus. They slept in a little cottage on the lake and ate home-cooked meals. Food. Without looking over their shoulder, I played jazz. They chuckled. Someone close to Chrissy said that she cried twice. Once out of shame and once out of relief. He claims that despite the public's and fans' praise, he still had to live with the knowledge that she had destroyed a person who had previously loved her deeply. He didn't know how to illustrate it. She was conscious of this, though. "If I didn't go, I would wither." Jim is hearing rumors that you're organizing something in the interim. Jim is not quite done. Sources claim that he has been working on a new solo single that fans believe resembles a Chrissy CD album. I ought to have understood the title. Lines like "she took my loyalty and flipped it to silence" are also included in the song's violent elite snippet. Devoted her time. I got aggression from her, whether it's bars, heartbreak, or both. One thing is for sure. Jim Jones disappeared from the public spotlight in the days following Chrissy's wedding announcement. And Chrissy isn't looking back. Instagram is thriving despite the lack of interviews, and even a subtweet. Fans were used to Jim blowing up. He was the hooded one of Harlem and the voice of unabashed passion. This time, though, he became silent, which alarmed many because Jim's silence was serene. The pressure was increasing. I ought to have known that the music was breaking on the internet. Then, when Jim posted a surprise freestyle on SoundCloud with the headline, "I should have known the beat," many began to suspect that he was lying quietly all the while. There are eerie references to 20 years of straight daggers in the lyrics. "I allowed you my time, space, and attention. You came into his life by airplane. I was not able to draw the line in time. You wore white, and I wore shame. You went out, I had to answer for my actions. The internet stopped working. A dot." The music prompted the TikTok creator to start producing amazing reactions. A video of Chrissy's wedding reveal was stitched by a fan who also captioned it, "He didn't only lose a girlfriend, he left no legacy." Everyone was clutching their pearls, though, because of the outro. The final words I said to her were, "You are still my forever, even if you only come to me in dreams." Oh no, a backstage message. Reggie had a secret camera behind the scenes, but nobody was supposed to remember it. As it happens, it caught. One more instant of Jim standing at the exit door that evening with their hoodie pulled down, their glasses put back on, and their chains taken off before they departed the building. He paused for a while to talk to Kendra, Chrissy's best friend, who was waiting with her bag. "Express to her that you didn't want this to end. Tell her that I was always worried that she would outgrow me. She did, too." Then he stepped out into the night. Kendra wanted people to know it wasn't all ego, so she purposely posted the video even though it was never displayed. That man cherished her. He just didn't know how to love himself. To start, the vows were never heard by us. Supporters were unaware that 2 months before the reunion was recorded, Chrissy had been married. There was no film, no press, and just 30 people in attendance. A Spanish outdoor patio, Chrissy's vows, and a sunset that seemed to have been painted by God himself. They were personal and lyrical. One specific section, though, touched a different nerve and was unintentionally posted to a close friend's Instagram story. 'Twas this: "The man who noticed me before anybody else did showed me what love isn't, and for that I am thankful. I learned how to ask for greater things from you. And I understand now. Some people were angry with you." Chrissy was considered offensive. That promise should not be tainted by the fact that she still held Jim in her heart, even though some people thought it was poetry masquerading as closure. An agonizingly written chapter with a powerful conclusion. Mama Jones raises her voice. Furthermore, Mama Jones stepped in just as the internet feared things were getting too dirty. The well-known incident begins when she posts a video of herself holding a white glass to her kitchen surface. Champagne said, "I'll repeat myself. I love Chrissy. I have and will continue to do so. However, you can't act in such a manner on TV and expect others to feel the same way. Go, I'm glad she was able to find happiness. Don't pretend, though, that my kid didn't put in a lot of effort for her. You waited. Indeed, you know what, my love? He lived through you too." Statements caused disagreement among supporters. She said to tell her mother, "Others you mentioned. Him place the blame on the man rather than the lady." According to one of the most popular responses, Chrissy waited silently while Jim cried in rhythms. They both lost, but only one made it back. So what about Jim? Sources claim that when Chrissy and Marcus were on their honeymoon in Italy, Jim returned to the studio, but not for music. It was for treatment. Yes. There are rumors that Jim joined a private men's organization in secret. People close to him claimed that he was in an upstate New York emotional wellness retreat where there were no phones, no newspapers, and no outside distractions. He wants to make the man better before he takes center stage again. He isn't attempting to return then. It's true. The Jim from 10 years ago would have dropped a CD tape, gone to a strip bar, and dated a stranger just to be popular at this gym. So to be honest, it's growing. Chrissy is content. Photos taken in a seaside cafe. Marcus and Chrissy are dining together. No photographers or admirers are present. Just a soft grin on her face as her head rested on his shoulder. Couldn't help but be happy for her since, after years of begging, praying, and suffering, she finally chose peace for herself. Not for publicity, not for clapbacks, nor for the society. "I left him to save me, not to hurt him," she later said. To a friend, Jim was given every chance to make an appearance by Chrissy, but he said nothing in response to many fan notes that went viral. Bid farewell, unwavering affection becomes emotional debt. She made a profit. All right. Jim Jones came to the realization that effort and loyalty are not synonymous. Batman's queen was regarded as a backup dancer and wasn't waiting for a wedding. Imagine the story's climactic moment as a split screen, with Jim Jones seated in a dim-lit room on the left. Looking at an old photo of Chrissy in the studio with his headphones off and tears in his eyes, she longed to be desired. Chrissy may be seen walking along a cobblestone street on the right. With her new ring shining in the afternoon sun, she walks hand in hand with Marcus without having to turn around. Her only statement was, "That's it, family." When the world wasn't supposed to see it, the story of lost love, wasted time, and finding healing was immortalized on film. This was more than just a reality TV show. Instead, the world was seeing a decade of love, quiet, and missed possibilities. Jim Jones lost not just Chrissy, but also the version of her that was waiting for him. Chrissy chose to marry for harmony rather than vengeance. Now it is your turn to talk. Do you think that by revealing her marriage on public television, Jim put himself in a precarious position? Or was it a mistake on Chrissy's part to keep her waiting so long? If you're more on the hashtag Team Chrissy or hashtag Team Jim Jones side, let us know in the comments section below. It's important to know the result of Chrissy's new husband approaching Jim directly. The hit that activates the post comes next. As a consequence of this story, click the like button and set up alerts. It is not yet complete. We have located our cameras. They're not welcome. They're unwanted.